only you can make a presentation about someone else, and it's so much you, because you're just the most genuine and thoughtful and real person. I've been so lucky being so immersed in the rare disease community to find these rare gems, and Luke is one of them, and our next speaker is another one. These people who are not just doing it for themselves, and they're doing it for the kids that come after. Like Luke mentioned, all that data was Susanna. You know, he's taking this huge risk, their whole family is, not just for Susanna, but for all of us. And I've seen Susanna go from regular sick, you know, hospital kid who's doing things to doing nothing, to going blind, to being in the hospital all the time, to then seeing a picture of her painting her dad's nails after she got the treatment. So thank you, Luke, for taking that risk for all of us. And I'm so happy to see Susanna doing so well now. One of the things that was really concerning for me after I had Ford was I knew I wanted to have more kids. And so I got really hyper sort of sensitive to like, how do I not screw this up? Because this is going to be really hard for Ezzy. And so I started looking for siblings. And then I found this family, the Siedmans. It's not just Jennifer who you're going to meet, but her entire family plays like this super important role, because I think too, as new parents, we're always trying to look beyond and like figure out what our future is going to look like for our siblings, for our partners, and for our sick kids. And so finding parents who are further along in the journey was something that was really important to me. And I found one of the best ones out there in the world. And she'll tell you about her family story, but what's even more special about Jen is that she's, I don't even know how many years into this now, a couple decades, and she's still getting up every day and offering resources and advice for families. And she is just such a special person, and she has so much to offer families. She's the community engagement coordinator at Courageous Parents Network. This is a resource I send to every new family. They offer videos and all the things like across the board for families who are newly diagnosed, and we have seriously sick kids, and they're just doing an amazing job. So I know you're gonna love everything about Jennifer, just like I do.
So I'm gonna just tell you that I'm a little nervous, even though I speak a lot. I usually am talking about topics like palliative care or goals of care, or like we're going to talk about coping for the caregiver later on. And when I was speaking with Lauren and Effie, they said, can you try to do something different? And plus I have to come after Luke, who was a professional actor. So I do not have my entire talk memorized today. So if you see me looking down, I apologize, but it's just not in my skill set. So anyway, yeah, this is my son, Ben. You're going to meet him a little bit through my talk. That was him shortly after his diagnosis. Ben's Dream was the name of our foundation that we started when he was about 5. Proud to say that gene therapy that we started funding, this was 1997. I'm a long hauler in rare disease. Has made it into a human clinical trial. Sadly, it's hit a few bumps in the road, as we can expect often with science, but it is possible. Just got to stick with it. And this is my husband, Stuart, whose name I never say right. He said that I say it funny, but and I were interviewed by Courageous Parents Network, which is an online resource for parents caring for children with life-limiting illnesses. We could talk more about that later. We were interviewed. That's our platform, is mostly videos and mostly talking about how palliative care made a big significant change in our lives. But anyway, I'm going to get started now with what I really actually wrote and prepared, and hopefully it works. And hopefully I don't mess up the computer. So anyway, Effie knows this about me. She's the one that asked me that I totally love analogies and metaphors. Like, I can talk to Effie and I'll always have something. It's probably a little bit like her marble jar. But a favorite of mine even made her podcast. I was really happy about this. It was called The Supermarket Answer. That's the response I would often give when someone asks, Ben. And in that instance, you stand there and you wonder, hell am I going to say now? Does this person want the real deal? Or do they just want the supermarket answer? I'm fine. He's fine. It's all fine. right? You know, and you think about that when you're standing there, right? It's the truth, right? But what you really want to say to yourself is, does this person want my true deal, which would come out in my life like, well, actually he fell yesterday, the day before, the week before that, it was 2 eggs on his head and a trip to the ER to get stitches. So now I'm trying to think about padding my walls. You know, I'm sure you can all relate, questioning to what answer to give and questioning what response it might elicit from the person standing across from you. So now you have a new way to think about it, okay? Remember when the person asks you, oh shit, am I gonna give out the supermarket answer now? I've used metaphors of garbage and a garbage truck to explain the science of Sanfilippo syndrome and sword fights and fire alarms to give others insights into what life with Ben looked and felt like. I think I do this with non-rare audiences in an attempt to make my life somehow more relatable. I think we all do that, right? We want to somehow find a way to relate to other people. But I know when I use these kind of comparisons in the comforting presence of other people, other rare parents like yourself, and it's been really great to be here today, and especially great for me to spend time with the kids because I miss that. It's with the hope that something I've learned caring for Ben and through my work at Creative Spirits Network will somehow be useful to you. So I hope that when you walk away today, you feel like you got some use out of this. And I just want to warn you, there's a lot of analogies and metaphors coming your way. My older son, Noah, and I often walk the dog together. During one of his walks, he told me about a video he watched on sunglasses. Yes, he's 29. He's watching videos on sunglasses on YouTube. And the blocking of photons and Bell's theorem. Yeah, he's a nerd, all right. I'm sure I will not get this entirely right because I am not a scientist. I am not a nerd. But he explained that sunglasses block some, but not all photons of light due to the relationship between the orientation of the lens and the oncoming photons. He told me that lenses layered in a perpendicular orientation will fully block light. But he went on to explain that if you added a third lens to the stack, the light would come through. Bell's theorem, if I understood him correctly. A few days later, I rewatched the movie National Treasure. And between my conversation with Noah and the rewatching, a thought started to form in this crazy head that being a resilient rare disease parent requires having your own pair of Ben Franklin glasses. Now, I'm probably dating myself with this reference to this movie. I'm hoping that some of you in the audience have at least watched it, but just in case, those glasses are an optical tool with rotating lenses invented by, of course, none other than Ben Franklin. And Nicolas Cage's character in the movie uses them to find and read hidden messages on the Declaration of Independence, clues that eventually lead him to discover the Templar treasure, the greatest treasure ever discovered. When Ben was diagnosed, I felt like so much of the light was filtered out of my life. This quote by Emily Rath Black really captures how I felt. There seemed to be so many joys and opportunities and choices that I felt robbed of. So many he might nevers. I didn't know then that what I was feeling was anticipatory grief, the sadness we experience when our life that the life we anticipated for ourselves takes a sudden turn. But I think even in those early days, if I had had a name for it, it would not have stopped me from feeling blinded by them. I was, as in Noah's explanation of Bell's theorem, wearing my sunglasses in a perpendicular fashion, and no light was getting through. With this new lens fixed in place and dashed expectations all around me, it was as if all hope was also being filtered out. This is a picture of Ben, sitting up kid, shortly after his diagnosis, and the day I believe I started to grow my own or build my own pair of Ben Franklin glasses. It was a simple summer day. The boys were playing with my best friend's daughter in a kiddie pool. The weeks preceding this day, I spent countless hours focusing on all the sibling experiences my boys would never have. I even organized some exceptional opportunities, like taking them, look at how old they are, to meet the Boston Red Sox mascot, like they were going to know what we were doing. And it was a stupid attempt on my part to create memories that might never, trying to replace the ones they might never have. But here they were on this great summer day, creating their own memories, building their own foundation, expecting only a fresh supply of water from the hose and hoping only to douse one another with a bucket full. And for reasons I wish I could more clearly identify, because I can't, my lenses lined up and the first important clue in my life was revealed. That expectations and hopes, well linked, are better understood when we see them from two different lenses. And that even as I might always have one lens fixed in place, filtering out some of the light and altering my expectations, I had the power to redefine and refine my hopes. I might no longer be able to expect that Ben and Noah would race their bikes down the street, but I could hope that a feeling of exhilaration became part of their brotherly bond. Years later, I would watch Noah terrify shoppers, zooming Ben's wheelchair at breakneck speeds around the supermarket. It was his favorite thing to do. Short of going, I'll tell you the other story about their favorite thing later. Noah had a grin as wide as the Grand Canyon on his face, and Ben, who could laugh like a mean man, was howling like a hyena. Both of them had cheeks flushed with exhilaration. My hope had come true. Refinding and redefining hopes are a theme we hear often at Courageous Parents Network. In fact, it led us to conduct some research into the family journey to determine what supports are needed at different inflection points. The research revealed that families caring for medically complex children are in a continuous cycle of orienting, navigating, and moving forward. I think the key word there is that it's continuous. So you're repeating it. Often coinciding with the onset of a new problem with our children, orienting is typically the most emotionally difficult part of the cycle. I think this is because these are the times when our hopes feel elusive, and using our Ben Franklin glasses and honing our ability to shift our lenses and change our perspective doesn't come all at once. For those of you who've seen the movie, you know that Nicolas Cage had to experiment with the combination of lenses at each new location before a new clue was revealed. Navigating, it turns out, is typically the part of the cycle where families spend the most time. You guys all know this. Navigating is when you problem solve, and Lord knows we have a lot of problems to solve, right? And I think this is when the colored lenses of our Ben Franklin glasses really come into play. But to test my theory, I had to do a bit of reading to see if the glasses really work. And guess what? Those silly glasses are not a made-up movie thing. They are actually a real deal kind of thing. The concept is called color blocking. Red lenses allow redding to be visible, but block greening. Green lenses pass greening and block redding. Blue lenses pass bluing and block yellow. This means that drawings in each of these colors become visible when viewed through the respective color blocking filter. The colored lenses of our Ben Franklin glasses allow us to get creative, searching for and seeing a full spectrum of solutions, giving us power to navigate the things we once thought impossible. Think about today. Your community has navigated its way towards its first in-person conference and a natural history study to advance the science. And all of you, or many of you, navigated your way here with children and all of the things that that contains to get here. Tomorrow you'll go home with new information, probably a stronger sense of community. I'm sure, I know I feel it after being here. And my guess is that many of you will move into the next phase of the cycle, the moving forward phase. This is the time when life feels good. You all know this, right? We have clarity and we have confidence in the decisions we've made. And unfortunately, the moving forward phase, the research revealed, is usually the shortest phase for all of us. Until something kicks us back into orienting again. And it doesn't mean when we're in the moving forward phase that we will not have bumps along the way, but rather we're better able to see the direction we're going. For me, moving forward often came when my lenses lined up perfectly and something like a treasure came clearly into focus. I'd like to share one last story with you today that highlights how with time and practice, we rare parents have the capacity to rotate our lenses and find our treasures. Ben was a late walker, not really accomplishing independent steps until he was about 13 months old. My pediatrician assured me that this was in the range of normal, and I should not compare him to Noah, who walked by 8 months, or read anything into it. And since this was before we knew Ben's diagnosis, my husband and I just spent a lot of time doing what every parent does, right? You let your kid walk back and forth between you, and you catch them on the other end when they fall. And so finally Ben got walking, and let me tell you, once he got walking, whoa, did he walk. Kids with Sanfilippo have a lot of energy. They go through a period of time where they have a lot of energy. And by the time Ben was 8, he and I could walk 1.5 miles to Starbucks, order a latte and a milk to go, and walk the 1.5 miles back home, all in 40 minutes. I was a lot skinnier back then.
Wow.
Yeah, we walked a lot. But by 12, Ben, Sanfilippo is a progressive disorder. And by 12, Ben was moving in the opposite direction. His walking was increasingly unstable, and he was always aided by either comforting hands or a gait trainer. But one night, as my husband was cleaning the kitchen from dinner, a rarity, Ben's mind to memory muscle was clicking, and I decided to let him walk around the kitchen without my protective arms around him. And my husband joined us, and together we started to send Ben back and forth between us, slowly increasing the distance between the two of us, just as we had when he was a toddler. And just as Ben sort of made his third loop around our kitchen, and I started to get very, very sad. A big wave of sadness washed over me for all of the things I realized that Ben could no longer do. But there was Ben. He came back to me. He had this big Cheshire grin on his face, telling me that he was so very, very, very proud of his accomplishment. And his smile sent my Ben Franklin glasses shifting, revealing to me a powerful secret. I'm going to share it with you now. Here it is. Ready? At its core, parenting a child with a rare disease is simply that, parenting. Parenting our rare children has more challenges to navigate, but instinctually and intrinsically, the goals for our children are no different. That night, I was simply challenging Ben to be the best he could be, whatever that looked like. And this clarity of my vision as a parent, that I have been and always will be the best parent to and for Ben, was for me like finding the Templar treasure. It was that clarity of vision that gave me the courage to say goodbye when Ben needed to let go, and the tenacity to stand at a RAC meeting advocating to move gene therapy to a clinical trial just 1 month later. And even now, it gives me the commitment to reflect his determination in my work at Courageous Parents Network. I want to return here for a moment to Noah's lesson on lenses. Sorry. Remember how he said that if you added that third lens to the light blocking perpendicular pair, things suddenly got brighter? Bell's theorem. Scientifically, I really don't understand it, and I don't really want to, but he does, so it's okay. But as a rare mom, it really feels right. Perhaps our exceptional children are the third lens. They bring so much brilliance and focus into our lives. They grant us the privilege of deepness. They help us see that when we live at the edge of the deepest beauty and the deepest pain, then everything, our hearts, our world, our community expands. Their strength calls us to our highest capacity and provides us with a dose of courage to do things we might otherwise not have known ourselves capable of. Their determination shows us that even a small victory makes a good day, and that something as simple as a smile can inspire. Their willingness to learn, to try, keeps us present in the moment and shows us that it's not really about the destination, it's about the journey. Well, maybe these ramblings are nothing more than a 50-year-old's battle with her readers. But I don't think so, because you know what? I'm standing up here and I'm looking at all of you, and I can see a lot of Ben Franklin glasses on your heads. Some of them are well worn, they're quick to know the right combinations, Others are stiff and new, still knowing how to manipulate the lenses. But I know that once you get the hang of them, you're gonna be better able to orient, more skilled at navigating, and move forward to find your own treasures. That's me. Thank you.